My wife and I just checked into what was possibly the shittiest motel in the city. It was filthy and smelly and could probably collapse at any minute. Normally, we would try to find a nice hotel, but we were tired and it was the closest place to our apartment. We were awoken in the middle of the night by the police saying our building was evacuated for our safety and for their investigations since a series of murders occurred there recently. We planned on leaving that place anyways, just not tonight. I guess it's good we're out of there now, away from that deranged killer. But all I could focus on is sleep. It was the middle of the night and I was just tired beyond belief. I got the key and dragged myself and the bags behind me to the room, eyes half closed and half asleep. My lazy wife doesn't do anything, has no courtesy to help me with any of these things. She just limps aimlessly behind me like a zombie. We eventually get to a door with peeling paint, scratch marks, and a metal six nailed to it. The hallway lights flicker while I fumble around with the key until the door creaks open. As I enter our temporary home, I don't even bother turning on the lights, with both hands occupied by bags. Besides, I don't need to see how disgusting this room is. I don't want I don't want anything to discourage me from my precious sleep. I put the bags down somewhere randomly and feel around for the bed. I guess my wife had the same idea, as she just shuts the door behind her and flops onto the bed. Without flipping the switch, without even time to think, my mind leaves my body as soon as I'm engulfed by the darkness and silence, and I quickly drift to sleep. Suddenly, my eyes flash open, as I am shocked back into consciousness. I didn't hear a noise or anything, but something must have woken me up. For some reason, I can feel this strange surge of energy, as if I hadn't been asleep at all. Normally, it takes me a few minutes until I can function at 100%, but not tonight. There's just something strange about tonight. I hop out of my bed and begin to walk towards the door to turn on the light. I just get to the foot of my bed when I notice a window on the wall. I look outside and I notice something strange. It's just as dark out there as it is in here. Normally a street light or the moon would illuminate some light out there, but it was just pitch black. Mesmerized, I blankly stare out the window as the darkness begins to form shapes. Slowly, the body of a man forms. He's just standing out there, a few feet away from me. The energy I once had now turns into blood-curdling fear. It's too dark to see his face, but I know that that's the killer. That twisted freak must have followed us here and waited for the right time to strike. I know he's going to manipulate me and my wife. I want to run away. I want to scream, but there's something about the way he's standing there, just staring at me, that restricts any action. He won't make a sound. He won't move a muscle. He just stands out there, staring blankly at me in the dark and silence. After a few minutes of just staring back at him, I noticed something. I'm surprised I didn't realize it earlier. He's holding something. As I shift my focus from his face to his hand, I realize he's gripping someone's arm. Just as I begin to look at it, he pulls a large, flailing shadow in view. A woman. I can see her, trying to force her arm out of his grip. But he won't move. No matter what the woman does, that lunatic won't stop for a second. to break his stare. He just continues to glare at me. I shift my focus from her body to her face as she as the shape contorts from screaming and crying. That's when I begin to hear her. She screams for someone, anyone to help, but she won't even look in my direction. Through her shrieks come through her shrieks come from outside. The sound isn't at all muffled by the glass. Gradually, her cries for help and pleas for freedom grow louder and louder until they just become unstandable shrieks. It defines me. It defines me as it resonates me with it resonates with my brain and pounds through my ears. This noise alone is enough to drive a man insane. I want to clasp my hands against my ears and cry for the horrid noise to stop. Anything to end it, but I remain paralyzed. The man just continues to stare. Abruptly, just as quick as the shadow pulled her into view, he wraps his claws around her neck, and that deafening shriek finally ends. The pounding pain in my ears and head begin to ease as I breathe with a sigh of relief. That's when I notice the horrible scene occurring before my eyes, with the killer's thumbs tearing into the woman's throat. She grasps onto his wrists and tries to free herself, but he won't budge. She reaches out and stares and starts to carve her nails into his arms. But he still doesn't react. He just remains motionless, his face fixed on me. Her resistance grows weaker and weaker, until eventually her body hangs completely limp. As the woman's body falls to the floor, the man's arms fall to his sides. It's now my turn. That demon must have something planned for me. Why would he just paralyze me with his hellish stare, force me to watch him torture this woman, then just leave me? But he doesn't move. I'm waiting for him to burst through the window, but he doesn't. He just stands there, motionless, staring at me, while I stand there, motionless, staring back. After what feels like hours, I remain paralyzed. His stare has a grip on my mind, and I'm just as terrified as when I first saw him. Slowly his shapes begin to disappear in the darkness, and darkness consumes my vision. This is it. This is how he's going to get me. I become increasingly blind until my eyes close and I feel consciousness slip from my mind. That demon's waiting has finally paid off. I wake to find myself lying face down near the foot of the bed. It must be morning, but it's nearly as dark as it was last night, the only difference being a bright sliver of light from under the door. As traumatic memories from earlier begin to quickly take form, I get up and rush toward the light switch. I flip the switch. I flip the lights on and quickly turn around to inspect the room. What I see forces me to fall to my knees as tears stream across my face. In the middle of the room lies my beautiful wife, motionless on the ground. I crawl toward her, lifeless body, to see her neck heavily bruised. My eyes dart around the room in panic, in hopes to find any explanation. Slowly, I begin to realize something. That causes my mind to stir and my heart to shrivel up. There's no window in this room at all. All that lies on the wall is a single mirror hanging at the foot of the bed.